All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another awesome fantasy football week 7 of the Fantasy Life. As always, I'm the big Asiata Chevalier here with my partner in crime, the good-looking one, Chris, the coach, DaCosta. Coach, how
What
would you
up?
do this past week?
Dude, I don't know what it is. Last week was rough. I'm 1-2. Um, I was playing against a guy that had Drew Brees on bye, and guess which quarterback he plugged in?
No.
Joe
Oh, my God,
Flacco.
Joe Flacco. Gotta be, right? Who
And
else would he go with?
I lost by 5 points in one league. In this one, I benched Cam Newton for Eli Manning too. So
No, coach.
it is what it is. How'd you do?
Coach, I got pretty fortunate, Coach. In my must-win league where I was 1-4, I was in a must-win game. I had T.Y. Hilton, like I talked about in my last show. I had Tom Brady starting, and it was just gorgeous, and it was. I had the Lions defense special teams who put up a nice 20 spot for me. It was good. I had high score of the week. I went 4 for 2. It was a pretty good fantasy week. Right now I'm 2-4 in 2 leagues, 3-3 in 2 leagues, and 4-2 in 2 leagues. So I'm about like the exact average, I guess you could say, right now. Coach, let's talk about week 7 though. We got a couple of buys. We got Philly on bye this week. Let's talk about before we get that. Let's talk about our hits and misses. I'm jumping the gun here, Coach. Any opportunity I get to sound good, I got it. Let's talk about Ronnie Hillman above Alfred Morris. You said it couldn't be done. He beat the Butler. What's up?
Hey, Ronnie Hillman looked good. He had 25 carries and got 100 yards. Not terrible, not great, but not terrible. When you get that many touches, that's a guy you want to have on your squad. And against the Jets D, not too shabby. So I did pretty well, but I don't know, man. I'm still not a believer. I don't know if he's going to maintain it all season, especially with the Niners coming to Denver this Sunday. So, but hey,
Niners are overrated,
good
Coach.
bold
So don't
prediction,
worry
huh?
about it. Hey, Niners are overrated. So don't worry about it, Coach. Hey, he put up almost 15 points in PPR leagues. That's great news. I mean, in my opinion, I don't know if you watched the game, Coach. He just looked a lot better than Monty Ball ever did, and this is why
Yes,
I
he
was
did.
so high on him going into last week. I mean, I really think if he does good in these 2 games, and these are going to be a tough 2 games for him, I think he could win the job, or at the very, very least, kind of get a 50-50 role and be relevant. I
Mhm.
mean, he's on the best offense in football right now. I think he has a legitimate chance to win that job. Let's talk about another hit, though, Coach. I mean, I'm just so pumped about my, my Ronnie Hillman over Alfred Morris. How about yours, Kaepernick, like you stated,
Oh
Coach?
my goodness. I was ecstatic. I don't know. I'm a Niners fan, obviously, as everybody
Yeah.
knows, and probably since I don't know week 4 of last year, not counting that Green Bay playoff game last year, Kaepernick hasn't had a better game in his last 16 out of 17 of his last performances that he did on Monday night. 334 passing yards, 43 passing yards, 3 TDs. Yes, I did say he's going to pass 2, run for 1, but 3 nonetheless. And the biggest thing, no turnovers. If Kaepernick can do 200 yards, 2 TDs, and no turnovers, he's a guy that's going to be running the ball too. It's going to be good to have. So it was nice to see him win that way without making any errors.
I like him a lot this week too, Coach. He's facing Denver. He's facing a team he's got to throw the ball against for sure. And I don't know. He looks really good. He still doesn't got that rushing touchdown. I mean, that's kind of why you go for Colin Kaepernick. You love the stuff on the ground, but
But he's still the
he's
leading rusher amongst quarterbacks. So he hasn't scored yet, but he's getting the yardage.
it's true. I guess it's only a matter of time before he gets in. How about
I
that
hope so.
New England running game last week? We told you to bench Ridley and Vereen, and oof, not looking good. Ridley actually out for the season. What do you think of them going forward, Coach? Try to ignore last night's game.
Well, good luck ignoring last night's game. I have Arena
Yeah.
in 2 out of my 3 leagues, so I'm ecstatic with what Shane did. I'll be honest, before last, anybody that says he was gonna do what he was gonna do last night is a biased fan. I did think Freeman's gonna have more touches, and I think at a position that's a thinner than usual at running back, if you're getting volume, you're getting carries, you're getting passes, especially with Vereen in a half point or a full point PPR league, it's going to be a pretty good running back too. Um, if Brady's looking his way more frequently, and I mean Amendola even got involved last night, but I think Vereen's is a good guy to have moving forward. And of course, well, we won't talk about buying, selling high and all that stuff till later, but I like Vereen moving forward. Last night's game excluded. He's going to be their only option. I don't know if it's going to be Gray or Bolden doing anything moving on.
Coach, I try not to be result oriented, but I'm blowing my own horn here. I traded LaShawn McCoy when everyone told me not to for Ronnie Hillman, Shane Vereen, and Doug Martin. And gosh, am I smelling the roses right now, Coach?
Yeah.
This is a good week and a must-win game for me. McCoy's on bye. I felt like I had to do this. It was my best chance of winning, and oof, am I feeling good. We were feeling good about absolutely everything, though, Coach. We had some misses last week. I mean, I know you missed on Ronnie Hillman, but we also were big on Andre Williams last week. Only 59 on the ground and a great matchup against the Giants. What are your thoughts on Andre Williams going forward? Only 59 on the ground against the Giants? What's up? I mean, excuse me, against Philly?
With the Giants, they were down big. They obviously didn't score a point in that game, so they didn't go to the run late. Andre Williams is one of those running backs. He's a big back. He's not going to beat you with speed. So what does he do? He beast modes you. He Marshawn Lynches you. He runs into you every carry, and he gets better with each carry. The Giants are playing from behind. He's not going to get the ball in the second half, and that's where Andre Williams is going to do most of his damage. He's going to wear down that defense. So I wouldn't overreact quite yet. Yes, 59 yards against a terrible defense is something to be a little concerned about, but I wouldn't give up on Andre Williams yet. Again, he's getting the volume, he's getting the touches, he's going to get the goal line touches, and the Giants have been a team that can take a lead, and when they do that, they're going to run the ball a little bit, if not more so. So I wouldn't overreact to Andre Williams after a disappointing starting debut.
On the worry meter, I'm kind of at, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm kind of at a 7 right now for Andre Williams. I'm going to tell you why, Coach. It has nothing to do with him. It has everything to do with Peyton Hillis. He got 5 targets out of the backfield, Coach. It looks like he was the guy from the fourth quarter on. I mean, they just ditched Andre Williams. I don't know if they were playing conservative. They were bagging the game and said, let's move on to week 7 or not. But it looks like Peyton Hillis was getting all the targets, and that's the kind of the production you were hoping Andre Williams would get, and he just wasn't, Coach. I mean, where are you on the worry meter?
I'm a little less worried. I'd say I'm about a 5. I'm 50-50. If I had to make a decision, I'd tilt a little closer to 6, but I wouldn't go overboard. It's week to week. A week ago, you would say that Shane Vereen, he's not worth it. Injury happens, all of a sudden he's looking like a quality guy to have. So you never know what happens with Andre Williams. I think it's just one outlier performance. We'll see what he does this upcoming week.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, even though I am at a 7, I am gonna say this: you're gonna have to be stacked at running back to not have him in your lineup this week.
Exactly.
You're gonna have to need 2 pretty stud-like running backs to not have this guy in your lineup. Because when are you gonna start him? This is the week to start him. Coach, let's go over some starts and sits this week. I'm going to go first. I'm going to go to a couple of guys I would love to start this week. I'm going to start in Baltimore with Justin Forsett. I can't believe it, Coach. This guy is only owned in 75% of leagues. I don't even know how this is started. Every week since he's gained that starting role, I think since week 2 or 3, he's just been getting the job done. He's had double-digit games in every game he's played in PPR leagues. And he's facing the worst rush D in the league in regards to like the team you want to face the most, and the Atlanta Falcons. I think he's a must start. I got him in my top 10. I mean, I think he's an RB1 this week. If he's somehow in your waiver, which he absolutely should not be, if he is a must pick up, especially in PPR leagues. Your thoughts on Justin Forsett going forward, Coach?
Well, Justin Forsett, I agree, man. AC, he's a number 1 running back. He's catching the ball. He's getting the touches. I don't believe in Bernard Pierce. It was garbage time against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which that's a whole other thing we're going to get into. Lorenzo Talafiero, my guy that I like, he had 2 solid weeks and then kind of been non-existent. And Forsett's he's healthy and he's running and he's getting the ball. He's getting the production. He's going to be a quality guy to have, and no reason to bench him. I don't care what the matchup is, quite frankly.
Let's go from a current Baltimore Raven to a former Baltimore Raven. I was beating you up about the Alfred Morris, Ronnie Hillman thing. I'm going to make you feel good this week, Coach. I'm loving Anquan Bolden out of San Fran right now. Can you believe this guy was traded from Baltimore to San Fran for a sixth-round pick? How is that possible, Coach? I'm going to tell you why I like Anquan Bolden. He leads the team in targets, yards, receptions. He has 4 more catches in 5 out of his last 6 games, and they have to pass to stay in this Denver game. I like Bolden a lot. I think could even be a wide receiver 2 this week. I definitely have him in my top 20 this week. I think he's the guy. I mean, he's proven to be Vernon Davis, question mark. Michael Crabtree, question mark. Running game, kind of a question mark. The only solid has been Anquan Bolden, and this is a game they clearly got to throw. I mean, they're facing the best offense in the league. Anquan Bolden this week, must start, right, Coach?
Absolutely. No bias here. You make the excellent point that the Niners are going to have to throw the ball. Could they want to control the pace of the game? Absolutely. But you know what's going to happen? Without Patrick Willis leading that defense this week, in all likelihood, Denver's going to score. They're going to move the ball and put up points, and the Niners are going to do the same exact thing. Especially with Vernon Davis looking a little rusty coming off an injury. That play action in the red zone they don't run in the red zone. Believe it or not, they're one of the lower teams that run to that point. They play action and pass all day. And if Vernon's not going to be the one catching the ball in the red zone, it's going to be Anquan Bolden. So I like him a lot.
If you need any proof that their run game in the red zone is not doing good, just watch that St. Louis Rams game where they did a 4-and-out 2 times in a row. Just unbelievable. They got 2 great guys, and I mean maybe it's a testament to how good the St. Louis Rams rush defense is, but I just am not impressed. You got to punch that in. You're on the 1-yard line. You got to punch that in.
Coach, I'm going to talk about. I don't give Gore the ball enough.
That's true. I'm going to talk about some other running backs that have been struggling, Coach. How about Matt Asiata and Jerick McKinnon? I think they are must sit tonight. You got to sit them this week. They're facing Buffalo, the number 1 rush D in the land. All they do is designed to stop the run. They struggle against the pass, but not against the run. They have still not let up a 100-yard rusher this season, and that is a combined 100 rushing yards on the team. No 2 running backs or combination of running backs have run for 100 yards against Buffalo. That's what they do. But if Buffalo does have one thing, that's what they do. They stop the run. You got to sit Matt Asiata, Jerick McKinnon this week. I see Matt Asiata dropped in a lot of leagues. Actually, I'm in a lot of leagues where he's dropped. I don't know if I'd go that far because he's definitely the top. I mean, gosh, Asiata, a couple of stinkers in a row. What do you think, Coach? Is this guy worthy to be dropped, the number 1 running back in Minnesota?
Let's not get ridiculous. I don't think we should be dropping players. Anybody that's doing that, they must be in a must-win situation this week. You know, they're 1-5, 2-4, something of that nature, and you got to make a play. Maybe he's the guy you drop. But generally speaking, absolutely not. A couple bad games deserves a benching, especially everything you said, Andy, resonates with me. I agree 100% with the defense, the matchup, and they're going to be having to throw the ball being behind in Buffalo. But not worthy of a drop. Keep him on your bench, and hopefully he can work his way back into a flex role. But if you had to go with one, McKinnon's definitely going to be the guy to roll with if you're in an emergency situation.
All right, Coach, how about somebody else I really want to talk about, some guy that definitely got to sit this week. He's been somewhat reliable, and it's Steven Jackson. I mean, he's facing Baltimore this week. Baltimore lets up a lot in the air, not so much on the ground. And they've been pretty solid. I mean, Steven Jackson does get all the goal line work, but I really don't like him this week. Baltimore's had 5 games where they have not allowed a rushing touchdown. Only 1 game where they allowed a 100-yard rusher. I think Steven Jackson's a flex play at best. I don't know about this guy. I mean, is this a desperate start for you, Steven Jackson? What do you think?
2 words, Antoine Smith. He has had 18 carries all season, and he's a top 12 running back.
That's a high. No, are you sure it's 8? I thought it was lower than 18. That seems high.
Exactly. He's getting like 4 touches a game, so he's in the teens, but I believe it's 18. Correct, but we'll check the error guy at the end. But with Smith, Coach Smith is saying he's going to get this guy more carries. About freaking time. You're 2-4, and he breaks off a 3-yard run every week. He did it. I'm not a big. I think Hard Knocks dries up fantasy value for players every year. But even if you watched Hard Knocks, he does it in practice. He did it in preseason games, and then it's translated to the regular seasons, which is what we're caring about and noticing. Steven Jackson, like we talk about every week, touchdowns are fluky and for the most part tough to predict. He's
Coach,
not worthy.
go ahead. Go ahead.
He's not worthy of starting unless he scores a touchdown. And I don't know if you can guarantee that every week, especially against Baltimore, where they're probably going to be down and having to throw. That's how Atlanta's been operating this season. If he doesn't score early, good luck. They're going to Jaquiz Rodgers and they're going to Smith all afternoon.
Coach, can I use my bold statement of the week and say Antoine Smith won't score? Is that like a bold? I mean, it's kind of becoming a bold statement, right? I mean,
I think it's a bold statement.
Coach, how about your starts and sits this week? Who are you starting?
If you got a Cardinals offensive player, lick your chops. Carson Palmer's back.
Especially Michael Floyd, right, Coach?
Right. You got Carson Palmer coming off injury last week, putting up 250 plus, no picks, couple touchdowns, connecting with your boy Michael Floyd, making Larry Fitzgerald look good. If you got Floyd, Carson Palmer, I think he's going to be a low-end QB1, somewhere around the 7th or 8th ranking for this week in quarterbacks. Start him. You got a guy on bye like Nick Foles or a quarterback like Eli Manning or Romo you don't feel comfortable putting out there. Russell Wilson. Carson Palmer is a great play. Ellington is going to eat up the Raiders this week. Worst. I don't care what the stats say. The Raiders are one of the worst defenses in the NFL and the oldest. And I think the Arizona Cardinals with Bruce Arians under calling the plays, they're just going to eat them up alive. And I look for them to have a huge week. Go with Floyd. If you got John Brown or Larry Fitzgerald, even throw them in if you need to in a flex. But I think the Cardinals' offense scores some points this week.
Coach, I like the Carson Palmer comment you made. I mean, there are matchups. I mean, if you had Nick Foles, if you have Russell Wilson, he's facing a tough Rams defense this week. If you want to go bananas and maybe bench Drew Brees, which I'm never ever going to sign off on that. Maybe if you waited on a quarterback and you have Andy Dolan, and you don't feel like starting him against Indy, I would totally sign off and starting Carson Palmer against the Raiders. I got to sign off on that. I agree with you, Coach. Who else do you like?
If you're a little more desperate, but I don't even know if it's really a desperate play. I like Isaiah Crowell going up against Jacksonville. He's taken the number 2 spot away from Terrence West in Cleveland. Terrence West was a healthy scratch last week. Crowell's getting plenty of touches. I think he's going to get a few more than usual this week, especially in garbage time. Ben Tate, injury risk. They're not going to play him the whole game. They're going to be up against Jacksonville. Maybe it's in garbage time when he produces a little bit more than he'll make you nervous in the first half. But kind of like Smith in Atlanta, he's finding the end zone. He's got a nose for it. Whether it's 6 touches or 16 a game, I think this is one of those weeks where he gets more than 12, scores, and gets some yardage for you. If you need a high-end flex or a low-end RB2, I'm going that high with him this week. Plug him in at a position that's not too deep.
Coach, it's kind of unreal. I feel like not necessarily Crowell, but any Cleveland running back. I mean, did I just say that? I mean, this must be 2014 because I never would say that any other year besides 2014. You put in any starting running back, as long as they're playing and as long as they're healthy, Terrence West, Ben Tate, Isaiah Crowell, they're just doing well. I don't quite understand it. This Cleveland team is pretty underrated. I mean, watch them to possibly even win their division. I know Baltimore's playing good football, but it's weird. Isn't it weird? Like the Cleveland offense is just clicking.
Two things. Josh Gordon's not even back yet, and they're about 30 seconds away in their 2 losses from being undefeated. Don't sleep on the Browns. I actually think they'll make the playoffs this year.
Every year they seem to be like the comeback team of the year pick, and then just something seems to happen. Who don't you like this week, Coach? Who's on your bench?
Zach Stacy, I'm breaking up with you. What has he done for me this season? Nothing. Mm-hmm. Exactly. He had 1 game this season, where he scored 10-plus points. And if you're a PPR league, maybe he had a couple of 11 or 12 in there. But he's not what you drafted him for. Unless you got him in a keeper league or something, you drafted him early, and he's been nothing but disappointment. Don't drop him necessarily. You might need a running back, but he's a guy I think you have to bench against the Seattle D, which just got beat at home for the first time in a year and a half to the Cowboys, which however you want to take that, feel free to. They're going to come out motivated and hit St. Louis in the mouth. And that includes Zach Stacy, Benny Cunningham, everyone on that running back squad. So I'm not a fan of starting Stacy this week whatsoever.
Coach, two things I want to say right now. I was down by I was up by 12 points going into the Monday night game facing Zach Stacy. I was a little worried. So the Rams, they were doing great in the first half, driving down the field, the rush in a touchdown. Whose number is that? Oh, it's Benny Cunningham. All right. See, like Benny Cunningham's getting all the work, and he's the explosive guy. And how about another guy, Trey Mason, 50 plus on the ground? I mean, looked like he was doing great with his touches. What do you think of Trey Mason? I mean, living up to the hype that we were talking about preseason, doing well with the touches. Could he be a factor going forward?
The thing about Trey Mason is this guy, Daryl Richardson 2.0. I don't remember if you remember Daryl Richardson last year, but he was getting 6-7 carries a game and exploding with them, getting 50 yards a game. But when they put him in a starting role, he didn't produce. Trey Mason had one game. I wouldn't go absolutely crazy about it. But, if you got a waiver pick and you need some running back action and a Hail Mary on your bench, I think he's a guy that's worth picking up and stashing, seeing what happens in keeper leagues. Definitely worth getting on your roster, depending on your stipulations in your league. But he's a guy I like, but I don't go too crazy for 50 yards on a primetime game.
Coach, how eerily similar is this, though? Here, when Zach Stacy took over this job halfway through, starting running back started to struggle. So when he came in, could Trey Mason be this year's Zach Stacy? Looks really similar.
Yeah, they could be. I mean, last year with the Rams, they didn't throw the ball a lot, and Austin Davis seems to be throwing it around and getting 300-yard games. Granted, he didn't do that Monday night. So I don't know if it's the same type of scenario, but, hey, I've been wrong before. Ronnie Hillman. So my gut's telling me Trey is not the guy.
Who else, Coach, don't you like this league real quick?
This one breaks my heart, but quickly, Roddy White, I love you, man, but you're just not involved like you used to be. The matchup scares me. And with 38 targets this season, he's only caught about 19 balls. And if you look at his projection with that's 50 catches for the season, and that's one of the worst seasons of his career if he keeps doing that. And Roddy White, he tends to be one of those players that for whatever reason is never on the injury report. This happened last year and the year before that, until he starts struggling, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, he's had a hamstring issue for 2 weeks, and he's not playing for 2 weeks moving forward. So I don't know if he's got another one of those hidden injury bugs like the reverse Tom Brady, what Belichick does with him every week, just not reporting correctly. But he doesn't look like himself. And on top of that, he's catching 50% of the balls thrown his way. That's way too low of a number. I don't care who you are.
Here's the thing, Roddy White, Coach. If you draft Roddy White, you're not trying to get the touchdowns. You're trying to get the 100-plus catches for the season. Mm-hmm. And he's not getting that. I mean, He's virtually unrostered. Like he's unstartable at this point. I saw him got traded, Coach, for Mike Evans from Tampa Bay, and I didn't really shake my head at that. I was just like, oh, I could see that. All right, it's just like Mike Evans, late round draft pick and keeper leagues. I love the value in that. I was just like, okay, maybe I wouldn't have done that, but I could totally understand. Mm-hmm. Preseason, you're just like, what are you talking about? But
absolutely.
That's at a point where I think that's actually maybe, it's kind of becoming reality. Can't marry the name of Roddy White. You got to move on, look at the stats, and be like, maybe his age is catching up to him. Coach, mm-hmm. Let's talk a little buy low, sell high. I'm going to start high. I'm going to start first, Coach, if you don't mind. I'm going to go over the buy low, not buy high. We don't buy high here. We're talking buy low. I'm going to start with Miami, and I'm not talking Mike Wallace. I'm talking Lamar Miller. No Sean Moreno out for the season. Lamar Miller has been good. He's been the only spark, really, outside of Mike Wallace. He's already had his bye week. That's important, folks. When you're doing trades, make sure you're trying to trade to get people who have already had their bye week. Think about it. Would you rather have a guy who has 8 games remaining or 9 games remaining? Clearly, you want the guy who has 9 games remaining. They really need him to be solid too. Like I said, no shot completely out of the picture right now. Daniel Thomas.
With me with Lamar Miller.
Is a Coach, he's already got 15 catches on the season too. I'd try to get Lamar Miller. He just looks fast when he gets the touches. He's been pretty solid in the goal line. I like him going forward. Would you buy Lamar Miller?
Be honest with you, in one league I've been trying to buy him for a while. When Moreno was trying to come back from his injury before he was out for the season, I actually did try to buy low with him, trying to convince the owner that, Moreno is coming back. He looked good, which he did. And he was desperate for some running back help, and I needed some wide receiver help. So I was actually trying to trade Fred Jackson for Lamar Miller and Andre Johnson, because this guy's not very high in Andre Johnson, just to give myself a little bit more depth, and I think Lamar Miller is going to be quality moving forward. And unfortunately, as soon as that trade was starting to get in my favor, Moreno was out for the game and now out for the season. So 100% agree. I can't believe I'm saying this, but hot garbage Lamar Miller is starting to look like a fancy feast. So I would go.
I'm starting him in one of my leagues every week now. He's earned his starting spot. There hasn't been a week where I start him where I'm disappointed. I'm gonna go one more buy low guy, Coach, because we are running short on time. AJ Green. Look, if you see a guy who has AJ Green on his roster, he could be 3-3, he could be 2-4 or worse, needing a win this week. I'd come to him and be if you have a good record right now, you're 4-2, maybe you're 3-3, and you had Brady start this week, and you're like, okay, I'm probably gonna win this week. I'm gonna go 4-3. I think this is a good time to get AJ Green. His stock couldn't be lower, and this is a first-round talent. The guy for the past some odd years has been the top 5 wide receiver. He's Andy Dalton's favorite target, and they're throwing the rock in Cincy. I really like AJ Green. His stock just couldn't be lower. You got to get him now if you can, Coach. You got to like him going forward, right?
Absolutely. AJ Green, you drafted him in the first round. He's first-round talent. He's got a nagging toe injury. If you have a record and you don't have to win this moment, take advantage, prey on the weak, go get him, stash him for the playoff run that you're about to go on, Mr. 5-1, 4-2. Absolutely.
We've bought low. Let's sell high. Who are you selling high, Coach?
A guy we talk about kind of regularly, either good, bad, or indifferent. Torrey Smith. Hey, last week you showed up. He scored 2 touchdowns, 70 yards or so. Joe Flacco had a day he'll never have again. But if you're looking for him to put up points, again, look who he's going up against. The Falcons. The Ravens, Torrey Smith had an awesome week last week. Probably going to score or do well at least this week. And after 2 weeks, he's going to be performing. Teams are going to start getting that itch in your league to make trades, make something happen. Trade Torrey Smith while he's hot. I'm telling you, this guy is going to disappear again. The Falcons and the Bucks are 2 of the worst teams in the entire NFL. He's not going to keep doing this every week. Ship him off, and you'll be happy with whatever you get back.
Trade him next week, not this week, right?
Sorry, next week. Yes.
All right.
After he performs again, strings together 2 games. Thanks, AC. Where would I be without you? He strings together 2 games. You can sell him as peak value, in my opinion, at his ceiling at the end of this week.
Coach, let's not even think about where you'd be. You're so famous now because of me. So
exactly.
Yo, all of your future success to me, Coach. Just don't forget.
It pretty much goes Ronaldo and then me for famous Portuguese people. So this is great.
You're selling high this week.
Another guy I'm selling high is Jordan Cameron. Kind of similar reason. He had a good week last week. We just talked about how the Browns' running game is elevating. They run the ball about 60% of the time. And the Browns, they don't want to turn it over. Brian Hoyer is your quarterback. Know what you have. Good quarterback, doesn't turn it over. And how can you do that? By minimizing risk. So Jordan Cameron is not going to be a big play guy. Is he going to get an opportunity here and there? Sure, he did it last week, but what has he done otherwise? This week, he's got another great matchup going against Jacksonville. Again, he can string together 2 good games. Josh Gordon comes back in a couple weeks. Hoyer's going to look that way. Andrew Hawkins is going to take some plays. Miles Austin, Travis Benjamin, Peter Gabriel. There's a lot of different receivers out there and targets for Brian Hoyer. While you can sell high on Jordan Cameron, you can pick up a guy like Clay Harbor, Larry Donnell, Travis Kelce. You can trade for these guys, or maybe you have them on your bench right now. Very playable and I think equitable, if not better, than Jordan Cameron if you have him.
Here's the thing, Coach, about Jordan Cameron. He's got a couple of juicy matchups coming about. He's got Jacksonville this week. He's got Oakland next week. He's got Tampa right after that. He's got Cincy, who looks like they let up a lot. Houston, Atlanta again. I get where you're coming from. You want to say, but here Cameron is clearly a talented guy. And when talented guys just aren't putting up the numbers, that always raises an eyebrow for me. Because I'm just like, okay, what's going on here? Is there something up? Maybe he had some sort of injury because prior to his bye week, Coach, he only had 3 catches for 70 yards. I mean, this is a guy who is producing a lot of last season. Since then, he's had 6 catches, 165 yards, and a touchdown, and he's got a lot of juicy matchups. Wait for him to go off this week, see if he's getting the targets, and move on from there, Coach. He only has 20 targets this season. That's really scary for me.
For me, I'm a big target guy.
That's the only reason why I may agree with you, Coach, is because he has great matchups, but he's only getting 20 targets.
Exactly.
And I'm a little afraid. I'm a little afraid of that. So that's the only reason why I'm going to agree with you. Wait for him to have a monster week this week. Talk about all the things I just said and say, look at his matchups going forward. I think this guy totally is good trade bait after he has a good week this week. I agree.
I just think he's a guy that you can get great value for. With those matchups, you can make great points and get a position that maybe you're lacking on your roster if you have those other tight ends on your bench that you can play and have equitable service from.
All right, Coach. Let's do a quick Q&A session before we wrap up. We're doing a little. I like it though. I got a good question the other day from my friend Matt Dolan from Massachusetts. Matty D says, "Am I crazy to start Derek Carr over Drew Brees?" Coach, you know where I'm going to say in this one. I'm going to take a couple of deep breaths and let you take this over. Derek Carr over Drew Brees this week?
No. Next question.
Arizona, Coach. I mean, Arizona dead last against the Pats this year. I'm going to try to defend my friend Matt. I mean, is he crazy?
Yes.
But no,
I don't have much analysis.
I'm trying. No Jimmy Graham. Come on.
You got Colston. You got Hill. It doesn't matter who Brees has for receivers. It's still Drew Brees. Thomas, if Thomas is hurt, Keir Robinson, Robert Meacham. It doesn't matter who's catching the ball. He makes people good. Come on, man.
Matty D, I tried to fight for you. But, yeah, you got to go Brees. You got to start superstars. Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees. I don't care what it is. Don't try to be the smartest guy in the room. Start your stars. That's what it comes down to, Coach. How about another question real quick? Delaney Walker is #1 tight end, and would you trade him in a keeper league if you had Zach Ertz in the 12th? That's from my friend Jared in Warwick, Rhode Island. What value does Delaney Walker have?
That's actually a really good question. I think those are two guys that are kind of on the same platform. For me, I like Delaney Walker. He has more rapport with Jake Locker, though. That's the problem. When Locker plays, he blows up. When Whitehurst plays, it's not really looking his way as much. Walker's dropped a couple red zone targets, and when that happens in recent weeks, when that happens, you never know what the coaching staff's going to think. In general, I'm a big believer in high volume, and the Philadelphia Eagles are just that. Granted, yes, their defense and special teams have taken away offensive touches and plays in recent weeks, but that's not sustainable over a season. Zach Ertz is your guy. Nick Foles looks his way a lot. It's not Selleck. It's not Casey. It's Zach Ertz. I think Zach Ertz by a couple percentage points over Delaney Walker. Absolutely.
I'm going to say this. Delaney Walker has more touchdowns than Zach Ertz. I believe it's 3-2 right now. But here's why I'd actually lean towards Delaney Walker, and I actually like him a little bit more going forward. Delaney Walker has 45 targets this year. Zach Ertz only has 30 targets, and they both haven't had a bye. The receptions are 29-19 in favor of Delaney Walker, and Delaney Walker has more yards, 421 yards, leading the league in tight end yardage versus Zach Ertz's 306. Touchdowns are a little fluky. If the touchdowns were like 4-2, maybe I'd say, okay, this is why Delaney Walker is ranked higher, but I don't know. I mean, Kendall Wright hasn't been consistent. Justin Hunter isn't living up to the hype. Bishop Sankey is sort of stanky going forward. Sean Green's hurt. Maybe Delaney Walker's just the only show in town, and I like him going forward. Maybe in a keeper league, I could totally write off Delaney Walker over Ertz.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong either way. It's a good problem to have. They're both guys that are gonna hit for you some weeks and you're going to love it, and some weeks they're just going to disappoint you because they're both talented players. It's a really good question, and I can see why you had to ask the experts here. So.
Coach, that's clearly why they come to us. I mean, Zach Ertz, he's the young talent, so I guess if you're a guy, you're just like, okay, Delaney Walker's 30, Zach Ertz is the young stud. Okay, Zach Ertz in a keeper league, I guess in a dynasty league, I guess I could sign off on him. But for right now, next season, maybe the season after that, I like Delaney Walker. By the way, just throwing this in, Coach, tight ends are going to be the future of the NFL. You watch, Coach. Tight ends are going to take over. Last question, Coach. Delaney Walker or Jordan Cameron. We just talked about him. And in addition, Andre or Storm Johnson. I'm just not even going to include the Andre Johnson or Johnson question, Coach. That's just going to, in my mind, get pushed to the side. You start Andre Johnson over Storm Johnson every week.
Agreed.
Let's do Delaney Walker again over Jordan Cameron this week. Jordan Cameron, we were talking about him. Couldn't have a better matchup this week. What do you think?
You got to play Cameron. That match against Jacksonville, I know he's in my sell high category, but after this week, right? So Jordan Cameron is the guy you got to play this week. I pretty much said my reason why, so I'll let you roll with this one.
Jordan Cameron this week, Delaney Walker every other week after that, maybe. I don't know.
I like it.
Jordan Cameron, though. Trade him, get something nice. Jason Roslin out of Rhode Island. Coach, bold prediction in 60 seconds or less. Go ahead.
I'll do it in 30. I got 2. Are you desperate for a tight end? Is he hurt? Is he on bye? Clay Harbor, Jacksonville Jaguar, this week, 80 yards and a touchdown, which isn't sexy, but it'll win you your league if you need some help at tight end. Clay Harbor against the Browns. Plug him in. Number 2, Niners beat the Broncos on Sunday night. Let's go.
Hey, Coach, I just hope it's high scoring. I got a lot of Demaryius Thomas, Julius Thomas, and Ronnie Hillman's out there. My 2 bold prediction is a couple of guys who've been doing a nice disappearing act these past couple of weeks. One guy's been doing a lot more recently. Cordarrelle Patterson, he's coming back this week, Coach. He's going to have a monster game. I got him putting up week 1 numbers. I got him putting up double digits. He's scoring a touchdown. It could be special teams. I don't know. That might be my cop-out right there. Cordarrelle Patterson and Larry Donnell coming back, facing the Dallas Cowboys. He's going to put up those numbers you were seeing 3 weeks ago. I'm going to say 2 touchdowns from Larry Donnell, 1 touchdown from Cordarrelle Patterson. A couple of guys who've been virtually fantasy irrelevant these past couple of weeks. Coach, good luck this week, man. You must have got some tough matchups, right?
I'm playing my brother in one league, and that's my must-win. So I got to take him down. I'm 7-11 overall in my 3 leagues, so this has got to be the week where I hopefully come back and say I'm 2-1, 3-0 next week. Can't lose to the baby brother, man. Although he had
in my must-win league, I had, like I said, I got Brady and Shane Vereen starting on the same team, so that's just a tremendous start for me. I had Brady starting in another league of mine, but I was facing Brady in another league of mine, so it's just like, pick your poison. But, Coach, let's wrap it up for week 7 of the Fantasy Life. Good luck, everybody out there in the fantasy world. If you have any questions between now and Sunday at 1 p.m., just leave them in the comments below, and me or good-looking Coach Chris DaCosta will answer it. We're going to do our best to give you your best fantasy advice. Tune in next week, Coach. Tune in next week, fans. Thank you so much for the comments and questions you leave us every week. And as always, good luck on the fantasy gridiron. I'm the Big AC. This good-looking guy with Portugal flag in the background is Coach Chris DaCosta.
What up?
We will see you next week. Good night. Good night and good fights.
Adios.